Welcome to Navigating Life and Spirit. This podcast covers mental, emotional, spiritual matters, and all that jazz. Allah, my name is Hilary Malefe, a life enthusiast and a sister in spirit. I will be sharing my takeouts from everyday life by covering an array of topics, my views on them, and how I've handled them. I am by no means an expert or a professional on the topics. This is solely a personal journey that I will be sharing with you. The universe, source, God, higher self, creator, whatever you want to refer to life giver, tends to place us in positions where we are required to be active in our lives. The one way it happens is through the everyday life filled with different forms of lessons. Like everything else in life, they are balanced, but it takes a very aware person to realize and appreciate this. Lessons aren't always hard, tough, and unpleasant. A lot of them are fun, explorative, and exciting, and all depends on what you make out of them. Here we are given the opportunity to alchemize what we are going through as reflections of what is that we need to attend to. Think about it. Fear, for instance, makes us uncomfortable, and we seldom use it as a mirror to signal that perhaps we are misaligned to who we are. Because one thing for sure, we know that happiness is when we are most aligned to who we are. Happiness will get more glory when in fact we could hold the same space for fear, which in turn would make whatever lessons we go through not feel as miserable. Change your perception of the less pleasant feelings that we go through. Use them as guides and not so much as things that are said to make us unhappy, etc. Investigate what the misalignment is connected to and see how you can make the change. As I was doing a mundane task, I found myself down memory lane on the lessons learned as well as the vehicles to those lessons, i.e. the reflectors that were assigned to me for those lessons. One of the dictionary meanings of a reflector, as you'd have it, is an object or device which reflects waves, seismic vibrations, sound, or other waves. As healing and growth go, the lessons tend to deepen. At times it feels like you're going backwards when in fact you're simply elevating. For this to take place in full effect, you are required to dig deeper than you ever have. With elevation comes participation. This goes without saying that the more elevated you are, the better the quality of said reflectors. This is determined by where you are in your journey and how awake to it you are. There were many moments of pride as I realized how many things I had victoried, simply by deciding and choosing the road less traveled over the choice of my conditioned self. The trick about elevating is many a times you will be tested on how much you really want the elevation. You will be tested against your comforts, what you've always known, and most times that place isn't pleasant. We get climatized to what we know and what we've been through to a point where we choose that over an unknown. Unknown territory is mostly attached to fear because it is a place unknown, a thing unknown. The level of fear, of course, is dependent on the importance or priority in your life. Whether you will be making that fear a frequent visitor or a resident, again, is all up to you. Change of perception would work wonders in this aspect. Many a times, I'd be desperate trying to learn the lesson in a hurry, but would learn that I needed to stay the duration of the lesson. You'd also have reoccurring lessons that would have you feeling like a madman because how am I dealing with this again? It was obvious that they needed a part of me that wasn't present the first or second time they showed up. See, at times, a different side of us is required for us to attend to these lessons. I think it is that way we can truly say we have done the work into self-development. Look, most of the times lessons feel good. They have you going on adventures and rides that you don't necessarily want stopped. But as a wounded being, you have this belief system that tells you that this is not meant to last. So what you subsequently do is pull the plug on the joyride before time as a means of protection. I have often in the past done so, as I was under the horrid impression that I wasn't deserving. A belief that was deep in the trenches of all my beliefs. It required an excavation. This was a great surprise for me. As scary how, as aware as I was, that I needed to do a deep dive to learn that I hoarded beliefs that I had claimed as my own. Let's be frank, most of the beliefs that we have belong to others. For this to change, it needs for us to have a knowing of ourselves and really putting ourselves in a good grounded position to create new or carry out beliefs that we stand by for a different experience. What I have learned recently is how being too informed sometimes does no good for us, as we seldom action that knowledge. We often know the steps to take for better this or better that. We will even go as far as advise our mates when they are approached with situations that would need said information. Even then, we still won't take the necessary steps to better our own situations. It's true what they say about the people in our surroundings being reflectors of what we need to reflect on. The difference being that at times those reflectors tend to expand what we already know. At the end of the day, a lot of the times we are afforded these reflectors. Every now and again, we need a boost from source to align us back into our bearings through others. It may not be the very situation, but the advice given is quite aligned to the advice that we need, and the one way we would hear it is if we are being used as a vessels to pass the message. There have been countless moments where I give advice and sit back after hearing it and thinking, that sounds like advice that I would want to hear. Admittedly, I would archive that advice for later use to unpack and put into action. The reflection of these lessons that I have underwent have been so amazing, as I get to see myself in the different stages and really get to appreciate where I have been, how I have carried out the challenges that have come up. These kind of things are meant for us to see. Yes, your loved ones may note here and there, but there won't be an appreciation to a degree as when you realize it for yourself. It makes a huge difference in your present to go through this. It gives you an idea of how far you are or still need to go to get to that desired version of yourself. I really get excited when I notice the changes that I have gone through, because it affords me the opportunity to tweak certain things if I would like to change them or cement what's been working. It's a never-ending road. I think what's also important to mention is how crucial it is not to have resentment towards yourself on the things that can be improved on, because in the times we made these decisions, for instance, we were operating from a place we believed was the best. This is where showing grace and compassion to yourself comes in. Ultimately, the goal is betterment, and knowing that you have endless opportunities to achieve that should be a motivating factor. I stress the above point because it is one of the things that we forget to give ourselves. The most critical person you know is yourself. We often have these huge expectations of ourselves because of the desires and goals that we have that aren't realized in the time frame we've set. Grace and compassion at that point fly out the window. If fortunate enough, we are reminded of this by others. Some aren't and end up having built up resentment towards themselves. The irony is, if the same situation was brought to us by someone needing an ear or advice, the first thing we'd remind them is that they would need to give themselves grace and compassion. It goes back to what I was saying earlier about needing our own advice. Source is smart and witty like that. I was in my counseling session when I was going on and on as I do, when my counselor shares that everything I had mentioned were notes that she had made to bring up in the session. We really are just ourselves in different forms. To think that I had struggled with being received the way in which she did and understood was really mind-blowing. I know one may be privy to think, well, that's how counselors should be. I know, I thought about it. One thing for sure is I appreciated how aligned we were. What also stands out is that when you act on who you truly are, things of the same nature are positioned in your path. In other words, the attraction of the things you want draw to you. It speaks to the quality of reflectors that one needs to ensure that they are affiliated with. It works hand in hand with the type of energies you let around you, because let's face it, they have an influence in your life. I have since been laughing because I realized that I was getting what I wanted when I looked at the people I have been engaging with of late. There's nothing worse than having to keep explaining where you're coming from to a person that is adamant in not understanding you. That's why it's imperative to stick to those that feel like sunshine. Don't be fooled. I'm by no means saying that those people won't have opposing views, but they won't feel like you're constantly at loggerheads. It is also beneficial to your enrichment of life to have those that are of your kind, but also not necessarily have the same viewpoints. It allows you to welcome expansion. To you, I say this: you are very much in charge of the kind of energies you allow in your life, but also the quality of these mirrors. Remember, you are journeying to an enlightened version of you, and it is of absolute importance that those around you match that. To get where you want to be, you need to start now with what you have. Here are some affirmations. I want only what is aligned and feels good to me. Lessons aren't there to get at me, but to aid me in my journey. I am deserving of the exciting life that I am leading. I will ensure the quality of reflectors are aligned to who I want to be. It is my birthright to be happy and in harmony. My last notes. You are lovable. You can get the life you desire. It's all up to you. Your journey is yours. It's unique to you. Love it, embrace it, and have fun with it. That's all from me, your sister in spirit. My heart to yours, wishing you Khanya.